Love is painful. This story is of a woman working as a manga editor, recounting her high school days spent with her four best friends. They attended high school in 2020, and the pandemic had basically canceled all the extracurricular things they wanted to do as students, like swim meets and various clubs and festivals. The girl, at that time, was a struggling shoujo manga artist and writer, who struggled because she hadn't experienced romance at all in her personal life. However, she'd soon come to find out her childhood best friends, the hottest guys in school, were all in love with her. For some girls, this would be the dream, but for her, it just complicated things. She loved their friendship and didn't want them all to break apart, but by the year 2030, she'd learned that friendship and love rivalry couldn't keep them together. This is the anime. Anyway, I'm falling in love with you. Let's get started and watch this tale unfold. A light drizzle reigned in Shinjuku City on July 1st, 2030. For Mizuho Nishino, this was an awful birthday. Her boss wanted her to wrap up her serialized manga story by the end of the year. Overhearing a young female student laughing and chatting with her friends passing by, Mizu took notice. Seeing them brought back memories, and now she was stunned at seeing herself and her friends from 10 years ago. At that time, she never realized she had that same sparkling adolescence as well. Turning back time to July 1st of 2020, her room had blaring radio talking about the weather, pictures of her and her childhood friends, and sketches of her various manga panels. Coming in with lunch, her father screamed, seeing her asleep lying beside her childhood friend who was shirtless. He scolded her, but she just laughed, telling him not to worry because she just asked her friend to model for her. And besides, Kizuki was like a younger brother to her. With both Kizuki and her father taking their leave, she could tell her father must have forgotten it was her birthday. Mizu had 4 teenage childhood friends who she's grown up with in a neighborhood called Koegahama Highlands. She stepped outside to the 4 of them waiting for her as usual. They've always been so close that they couldn't hide anything from each other. She saw them as practically siblings who were all second-year high school students. Shugo teased her for going to school without makeup again, and trying to hide it wearing her dorky glasses. While she tried to tune him out, Airu suggested she be more ladylike. Shugo bet she was up late last night working on her manga again. Shin thought she should have been studying instead. She called him a nerd in response, but he warned her not to come crying to him before exams. However, she believed there were more important things, such as love and friendship. The friends bantered while riding the train. Mizu noticed Kizuki's backpack and called him too careless. She believed the only thing that's grown about him was his height. She thought of him as the baby of the group. Knowing practice resumed today, Airu teased Mizu, knowing she'd likely choose to watch her beloved Ryosuke after school. Time came, and she showed up to all the girls screaming as Kizuki took off his jacket to reveal his hot body. One of the girls got so excited, they accidentally knocked over her glasses, causing them to crack. So sad. She then overheard some girls talking about how Ryo wasn't here today, and now he's apparently quitting the swim team because there's no inter-high competition. She didn't want him to quit. She was surprised to find him waiting at the bus stop. The two chatted to the sound of seagulls squawking over the sunset. He then brought up how they both had bad luck, given classes were suddenly canceled because of some infectious disease. No school trip, no sports festival, no fireworks display. Everything was canceled. Even his swim practice and final meet. He questioned what all his effort was for. She then suddenly uttered she liked watching him have fun swimming. She intended to go to his final meet and confess her feelings to him. She knows she probably shouldn't have said that, but didn't believe it mattered now. With the bus coming in, she urged him to swim for his own sake. However, he just apologized, while telling her she couldn't understand how he felt, since she wasn't on the team. A cold response before leaving. It was over. Her one-sided love was over. This was an awful birthday. Later that night, having fallen asleep in the pool, Kizuki was woken up by Ryo calling out to him. Ryo was impressed by Kizuki's choice to continue practicing, despite them not knowing if they'd have any more meets. Kizuki had made a promise to himself, though, that if he ever made it to the final of the national meet, he'd tell her how he felt. He continued to push himself to get better until he achieved that. Hearing his words impressed Ryo so much, he's decided to practice again starting tomorrow. Ryo then told Kizuki about Mizu telling him she wanted to see him swim again. Kizuki's eyes widened hearing her name. Ryo knew the two were childhood friends, but Kizuki quickly interjected, saying they weren't childhood friends. To him, Mizuho was a girl, He told Ryo to leave her alone. Returning to her house, Mizu gave her, "I'm home," in a defeated voice. She saw the light on in her room and was surprised to find her 4 friends wishing her a happy 17th birthday. The heartfelt kindness of childhood friends. It made her weep. Seeing her cry, the friends thought they had done something wrong, but she assured them she was happy. Airu snapped a photo. Not wanting to forget this tearful birthday, Mizu got so mad, Shugo had to hold her back. However, Airu felt they needed pictures since there was no fireworks this year. Bringing her lit-up cake upstairs, she asked Kizuki what she should wish for blowing out the candles. But Kizuki asked if she was the only one who could make a wish. He shifted the conversation, stating she had been crying before she got home. She tried to deny it, but he could tell. So, after he blew out her candles, he admitted his wish was to become her boyfriend. This made her eyes glimmer and face turn red. At the time, she didn't realize in 2020 that she was surrounded by sparkling brilliance. After cheers, Shugo asked what the two of them were doing downstairs, causing Mizu to spit out her drink. Airu then teased that Kizuki must have asked her to marry him like Shugo used to. Shugo insisted he only did that before grade school when he still hadn't realized that girls other than Mizu existed. He started beating on Airu, telling him that was just the shameful past. Shin noticed Mizu's mouth was agape, offering her a napkin to wipe the cream off her face. But Kizuki did it with his finger instead, telling her she was like a kid before licking it from his finger. She gasped, and seeing this event, Shin felt like he was third wheeling here. Coming outside the next morning, the friends were awing over the fact Mizu wasn't wearing glasses anymore. She started wearing contacts now, and hearing them still teasing her for those glasses, she told them to shut up. The boys wanted Shin to say something, and while a bit flustered, he told her no matter what, she'd always be stupid, causing the friends to laugh. But he was shocked to see Kizuki calling her cute. She was flushed, because she couldn't handle the fact you haven't liked this video and subscribed to my channel yet. Why? Well, here at My Shoujo Weekly, I've got the most spicy romances for you to enjoy. I also live stream, where we talk about interesting topics and play fun games. So come on, hit that subscribe, I'll be your guide. Kizuki pissed her off. She felt like he was definitely making fun of her. She thought back to that event, and thought he was just trying to cheer her up because she had been crying. Cleaning the board, she couldn't reach the top, and suddenly found Kizuki's hand was placed on top of hers to assist. She contained her surprise this time. At lunch, with Kizuki feeding broccoli to Airu, all the students and faculty felt they just had to watch. Shugo told Kizuki not to feed him his broccoli just because he didn't like it. Chika questioned why Mizu wasn't eating with her usual group, but Mizu insisted she wanted to eat with her today. Bad idea though, because Chika knew the boys' groupies would come for her. Mizu dismissed that at first, but quickly found out Chika was right. Seeing 2 girls wanted her to give cookies they made to Kizuki, she wondered why they couldn't do it themselves. But the 2 were far too embarrassed, believing they couldn't even breathe or make eye contact with him. They handed her the cookies and ran away. Mizu wondered why though. She thought Kizuki was just a crybaby who held her hand and begged her not to go when they were little. Kizuki often missed school because of his asthma. Handing him her assignment notes, she'd often leave in her drawings to cheer him up. It made her happy when he laughed. He often called her an amazing genius, although the manga editorial manager called her work average. He wanted to see her write something only she could make, and wanted her to try writing a school romance in her own words. She didn't believe she could though, given her love life was hardly interesting and she lacked experience. He didn't think so though, given she was in high school, after all. He assumed she lived an exciting and sparkling adolescence every day. She still denied it, but his answer was that she probably didn't even realize it. Exiting into the lobby, she was feeling dejected over the editor rejecting everything. She was then surprised to find Airu, who received a lot of makeup from his editor. He could immediately tell something was wrong with her. Sitting for drinks at the waterside, he suggested she just draw a new manga, but was surprised to hear her ask if people really experienced heart-pounding excitement every day. Watching the fireworks display with her crush was her dream, but now that wasn't happening because of the infectious disease. Besides, Ryo rejected her as well. She then pulled out the cookies her classmate told her to give to Kizuki, and now Airu was asking if she didn't care about other girls approaching him. Why would she? To her, Kizuki was the crybaby of the group. Airu just sighed and told her to go give it to him now, saying he was still probably swimming at the pool. With him spotting her coming in, he got excited asking if she wanted to go home together. She then gave him the cookies, getting him more excited initially, thinking she had made them. But she dispelled that idea, saying her classmates did. His mood quickly became somber as he told her to give the cookies back. She chased after, asking what was wrong, and he asked, "Don't you care, Mizuho? Don't you care if I accept a gift like that?" She gasped, responding that she didn't, and began her leave. He then grabbed her arm to stop her, telling her not to go yet. He used to be smaller and weaker than her, but now she was trying to tug away, telling him to let go. She accidentally bumped into turning the water on, where the two were getting soaked under the shower. He then asked if she had ever thought of him as a man. She shook, responding no again. So up close, he told her he was confident. He knew she'd fall in love with him, then suddenly went in for a kiss under the water. At her office building, present-day Mizuho consoled a young mangaka whose current work had just gotten cancelled. She proposed to the girl a story featuring themes of love and adolescence. The girl sighed in response, telling Mizu she'd been thinking of giving up on creating manga, because even with Mizu's suggestion, this young girl believes she's never experienced a sparkly love in adolescence. To this, Mizu told the girl she was still young and was certain she must be living an exciting and sparkling adolescence every day. Suddenly realizing it was those very words her own editor had told her 10 years ago, she saw herself in this young girl. After that event, the days turned back to the mundane at school. Unable to shake that moment Kizuki kissed her in the shower, Mizu really didn't want to see him right now. She backed into the doorway, where Shin told her to move aside. Her classmates had a back and forth, calling him rude but cool, scary-faced, but a total hottie. Mizu didn't get his deal. That evening, the boys hung out in her room as usual, while Shin helped her study. He then pulled her face close. To tease her for having forehead wrinkles, she pushed him off, asking what was with his attitude at school. He was going to garner a bad reputation because only his face got compliments. To this, he admitted if he acted friendlier with her, it'd be embarrassing for people to know they were close childhood friends, especially since she was an idiot who didn't know how to do her makeup. He then told her they'd review and fill her empty head at the library tomorrow. Kizuki then brought the two a drink, and asking about Mizu's studying, she immediately got flush with him near. She then got up to tell him if he was so bored, he could go fold laundry in the living room or something. Ugh, a girl couldn't even study in peace. She gasped, realizing what he might be doing, and rushing downstairs, she found him holding her bra. She tripped, trying to take it back, and somehow ended up under him. He stared eye to eye with a serious look. He was done. He wanted her to acknowledge him as a man already. However, she just wanted some space. This was too awkward. Luckily, he listened and actually walked away. The next day after school, he trained and washed up like usual. A storm began to brew. Shin then appeared to say hello, and we learned his student council meeting ran late, so he was going to meet with Mizu now. The thunder caused Mizu to shudder a little. Since it was raining, she wanted to go home, and texted Shin she was taking off. She rushed off into the rain, screaming when the thunder boomed. It brought back horrible memories she didn't want to think about. The day her father had her stay with Kizuki's family so he could take her mother to the hospital. Shin went to the library to look for Mizu, but she was already gone. Kizuki tried to console young Mizu, who was praying for her mother's safety. She wanted help in this rain. Shin continued to look for her, but it was Kizuki who came to her side. He told her everything was going to be okay now, and held her close. With the rain gone, he carried her on his back. Mizu felt she sure must have hit a low point to have a crybaby like him worry about her. He apologized, asking if she wanted to see Shin instead. She then uttered her hatred of thunder, because it reminded her of that day. Kizuki already knew. She then said, "I prefer you, Kizuki. I'm so grateful that you've been by my side since that day." He was stunned by her words, and when she got down, the two saw a rainbow over the beautiful golden waters. She now saw Kizuki was just as beautiful, so he came in close to tell her, "You fell for me just now, right?" And she covered his mouth, shrieking, I did not." The friends later enjoyed a clear blue sky and a refreshing breeze. But it was just a backyard. Today was their little pretend school trip, since their actual one to Hokkaido was cancelled. They then suddenly got sprayed with water because Kizuki accidentally stepped on the hose nozzle. So of course, Shugo had to retaliate. That evening camping out, Kizuki continued to train because he was really determined to beat his personal record at regionals. He told Mizu to come cheer for him again, and leaning on Airu, asking him to come too. Airu just got up, telling them it was time for bed. Trying to sleep, Mizu felt a little closed in. Because Kizuki was right beside her, the friends had called her a spoiled princess for complaining about the flatness of the futon. However, he was fine with her acting spoiled with him, especially since they'd kissed already. She then screamed, waking them all up to Kizuki getting squashed under a pillow. Falling in love and then going out? Mizu felt she couldn't do that, because she didn't know what she'd do if this lifelong bond between her friends fell apart. After school, the girls screamed over how hot Kizuki was when he swam. Chika poked at Mizu for swooning over him too. She tried to deny it, but Chika questioned if she was sure she really had no feelings for him whatsoever, and suggested that maybe she hadn't realized it because they were always too close. Mizu spent that evening frustrated, throwing away another page she was working on. She didn't know what to do if she were to really fall for Kizuki. The next day, she saw the swim team in tears since their regionals were canceled over that virus going around. All the other clubs were getting their competitions canceled too. However, Kizuki was the only one not crying, but Mizu knew he was still sad. Kizuki later found her in class. She'd been waiting for him because she was worried. He tried to play off what had happened with a smile, acknowledging this year's goal was flushed down the drain, but she told him he could let it out. She acknowledged him for working so hard up to this point, and didn't want him to pretend like this summer never happened. As his tears welled up, he admitted he wished she hadn't said that. It was because of her he'd been holding back his tears this whole time. He cried on her shoulder, telling her she shouldn't say such nice things to him, or he'd cry even more. Despite this, he was going to continue to try his best, and asked her to keep watching. Returning to 2030, Mizu explained to Chika she had told the young writer the same thing she was told by her editor when she was young. The young writer had responded, "There was no guarantee that life would be dazzling." Chika laughed because Mizu had said something like that 10 years ago. The two agreed the young writer likely wouldn't believe Mizu, since they also didn't understand when they were young. However, Chika believed it was still best Mizu look out for the young girl while she went through the rocky times of adolescence. Walking home, Mizu reflected on how Chika used to always look out for her. Back then, Mizu was too young to understand how she really felt, and didn't notice the people she cared about had their own secrets. At this rate, Mizu was going to fall in love with Kizuki, but suddenly fell over, blacking out. Shugo and Airu wondered what was bothering her so much that she contracted a fever. They were flabbergasted, seeing Kizuki buying way too much. He put things like charging cables and mold remover in their basket. Not exactly the best get-well-soon gifts. Exiting the convenience store, Airu was shocked, being called out by some delinquents he used to hang out with. Shugo and Kizuki tried to get him to ignore them, but he stepped forward towards his old friends, who condescendingly expressed they were so sad when he ditched them. He coldly responded he was all good, thanks to them, leaving the delinquents behind. By the bridge, Airu shouted to let out his anger, lamenting over the idea he might never escape his past. Shugo told him to give it up, reminding Airu he was seriously such a bad guy in middle school, who had left them behind to go hang out with delinquents. He used to get into fights every day and skip school. They were just teasing though. They comforted him, saying he was really cool just now. They liked him then, and they liked him now. Airu hugged Kizuki, telling him that he liked them too, but with Shugo offering his hug, the two friends just walked right past him. After giving Mizu cold medicine, Shin checked on her forehead. Her fever was down a little. He moved his head close, nearly going for a kiss, but pulled back hearing her groan, thinking she might wake up. She did, still in a bit of a daze, so he told her to sleep more while turning off the lights and exiting. Outside the door, he wondered what he was doing. A while later, Mizu was good as new, not expecting to see Shin outside her house on a school day. The two walked along the shore view together, with Mizu surprised to learn he skipped school for the day. He then handed her fruit sandwiches, knowing she hadn't eaten anything yet, and proceeded to scold her for being unladylike by taking big bites out of her sandwich. She then took off her shoes to play in the water, despite having just gotten over her fever, but she begged him to play too. He asked what got her worried enough to get a fever, and she admitted to the small confusion she had with her own feelings. He then suddenly insulted her, and showed her a hug could help reaffirm feelings. He He told her if she did this with someone and it made her heart race, it meant that she loved them. There was silence. Seagulls squawking, waves moving. His face was red. Then, with her telling him she couldn't breathe, she shoved him off, saying she couldn't do something like that. To this, he just called her stupid and told her not to take it so seriously without showing his face. She got annoyed, claiming he was just picking on her because her love life was below average. But little did she know, he was still red in the face as he walked away. Back at her place, he helped wash the sand off her feet when Kizuki suddenly walked in on them. Kizuki asked what they were doing, but Shin responded with, "Nothing." Before walking inside, Kizuki gently touched Mizu's head, asking if her fever had gone down. And she blushed, remembering Shin's words about heartbeats and hugs. Her eyes went a little out of focus, and she shuddered back, running away from him. She wondered why she was feeling this way. The friends later took a photo together at the aquarium. Airu commented that she looked quite cute, since he did her makeup and coordinated her outfit. Kizuki became fixated on his words. They all enjoyed the aquarium together, seeing various aquatic life. In a moment where Mizu and Kizuki were alone together, he brought up that she invited everyone to cheer him up for his swim meet being cancelled. He was thankful. He then suddenly told her she made his heart race, and that there was something different about her today. Oh man, she felt like her heart was about to shatter. Getting their food, Shugo teased Mizu for looking so nice today, questioning if she was going to go out somewhere after their hangout. He teased her for still not understanding her own feelings, because she was scared to know. It was easy for him to tell, considering how long they've been friends. Later, the group decided to go see the dolphins. Kizuki covered a particular big splash that was going to soak Mizu. She pushed him away, assuring him she was fine. And now, they were staring at each other, eye to eye, where he tells her he wanted to go out somewhere, just the two of them. Heading to the station, Shugo noticed his teacher laughing with another man. Mizu asked him if something was wrong, and he denied anything, just admitting he was in the same boat as her. On the train ride, Kizuki managed to sneak in holding hands with Mizu. She didn't answer him before, but he asked once again for it to just be the two of them. Mizu knew she was afraid to find out who she was in love with, but Kizuki's warmth made her heart race. He led her off the transit, leaving the rest of the friends behind. 2030, Mizu was about to knock out, but woke up because of Shinkai Stadium's fireworks festival. Airu texted her happy birthday, a pleasant message from her dear childhood friend. But then her jaw dropped when he reminded her next week was Koegahama's fireworks festival, which they had some fond memories for. Mizu watched the fireworks with someone she liked 10 years ago. The rest of the friends spotted Kizuki and Mizu walking away. Both Shugo and Airu chatted about how he always tried to monopolize Mizu now and when they were kids. He chased after her all like, "Mi-chan, Mi-chan." Shin didn't seem to share in their laughter, asking what was so good about that derp, referring to Mizuho. Mizu and Kizuki sat at a cafe, with her both flustered and unsure of how to proceed. He suddenly decided to try her drink. Calling it a date, he only made her more red. He then grabbed her hand, and she wished he'd spare her his innocent puppy eyes. He wanted to tell her there was a swim competition next Saturday, set up by the team's coach for the third year's send-off. He wanted her to come cheer him on, telling her, I need you very much." It was ever since that day when they were kids. She'd been gone for 2 weeks at that point, grieving the loss of her mother. Airu wanted to find a way for them to cheer her up, but first to leave was Shin, who had to head to his extra tutor classes. Shugo then consoled Kizuki for not qualifying for the swim team due to an asthma attack. He believed Kizuki would get it next time. Kizuki trained and trained, eventually leaving a note for Mizu to come watch him for tryouts again since he'd been working super hard. And she did. That day he finally passed. This encouraged her. That day, she told him she was going to school again starting the next day. This was the moment he fell in love with her. Exiting the cafe, some girls from another school were chatting him up, but they apologized for making his girlfriend wait. Ooh. He responded she wasn't his girlfriend, and at that moment, she wondered what she was expecting. Then, he hit them with, she's the person who'll be his girlfriend one day. Oh, that definitely made her heart restless. At Kamakura Station, Airu and Shugo were in disbelief that Shin took them to a bookstore. Shugo came up to him, teasing that he knew the reason why Shin was studying so hard. It was because of what happened to Mizu's mom. Shin never wanted to see Mizu look that sad again. Shugo knew that was why Shin decided to become a doctor, so he held his friend and called him cute. He told Shin not to stress too hard, and that if he wanted something, he should just say what it is. Or she'll be taken by a guy whose only saving grace is his honesty. Shin sat down, understanding Shugo was right. It was annoying, but he was losing to Kizuki. With Kizuki and Mizu getting back on the train, Shin was waiting for them. He flicked Kizuki's head, scolding the two for just doing whatever they wanted. Mizu thought while the day was fun, she felt like something was missing. However, Kizuki answered straight that he didn't want to waste this summer. He wanted to do what he could, so that he could look back on the summer of 2020 and say it was great. It was silent for the moment. But then, Shin sat down next to them, arms folded, telling them even though they couldn't tell, he was in the prime of his youth too. Mizu was stunned, asking him if he was in love with someone from school, so he covered her mouth to stop her. But that didn't matter, since Kizuki had already fallen asleep. Continuing, Mizu expressed her wish for things to stay like when they were kids. However, Shin told her that was impossible. He would rather be an adult as soon as he could, than a kid who couldn't do anything. An adult who could protect the person he loved. Mizu always knew they couldn't stay like this forever. At a local preschool, the friends were drawing posters as their high school was organizing a fireworks viewing. The teacher, Kizuki's mother, was thankful since her son couldn't help out due to swim practice. The Koegahama Fireworks Festival got canceled this year, so the parents who volunteered have been actively involved in the event. They wanted to make sure the kids were really happy. Shugo then brought up how she was friends with Mizu's dad, referring to her as ma'am. She got serious, telling him to call her Miss Izumi. He was terrified. That aside, she thought Mizu's father was pretty cool. Sitting outside with ice cream, the friends discussed how the fireworks festival was the same day as Kizuki's swim meet. Airu asked Mizu if she was going to cheer for Ryo, since it was her dream to see the fireworks with someone she liked. She denied it. However, this didn't sit well with Shin. She wondered who she wanted to see the fireworks with. She later went to cheer Kizuki on, and he and Ryo actually got new personal bests. Mizu thought Kizuki was amazing. In the supply room, she gave him snack gifts from her and the rest of the friends, wishing him good luck on the remaining events. He then suddenly held her close, saying he heard her voice while he was swimming. Taking a deep breath here, he was replenished, ready to get through the final relay. Sitting down at the bench, Ryo mentioned they could actually go to nationals with their times if competition went as planned. Ryo then said he wished Mizu had come to cheer himself on. Kizuki didn't like that, so he challenged Ryo to a personal match after this competition. Elsewhere, Shin was directing the setup of the fireworks festival, finding Mizu's dad on the ground in pain. With Shin tending to him, Mr. Nishino remarked that he was amazing, good at studying, and on the student council too. Learning Shin was going to become a doctor, he then said it'd be a weight off his shoulders if his daughter married someone like Shin. Shin for some reason took this offhand comment to heart, asking the dad if he could propose to Mizu when he succeeded in becoming a doctor in the future. The dad was stunned by this. In the evening, the friends were viewing from the rooftop, but now wondered where Kizuki and Ryo were. It was at the pool. Kizuki braced himself. Ryo called for the 100-meter freestyle. With the people doing a 10 count for the fireworks to begin, Shin made sure Mizu was watching, letting her know that her dad organized most of this event. While the fireworks showered, Kizuki and Ryo were commencing their duel. Mizu went over to thank her father, who admitted he didn't know what to do to help cheer them all on. School events got canceled, and none of them ever dealt with a world event like this. He didn't want them to lose heart though, since their futures were full of possibilities. He knew they'd face countless failures, experience heartbreak countless times. But through all of that, he told her to never give up. Mizu's eyes welled staring up at the fireworks. There was a glittering sparkle in the depths of her heart. She'd never seen fireworks like this, and wondered if Kizuki was watching too. Airu came by to wipe her tears, suggesting that Kizuki was probably still at the pool, asking if she was sure she wanted to stay here. We moved to 2030. Dr. Shin is walking down the hall with a bouquet of flowers, while all the ladies at the hospital were charmed by him. At Mizu's place, she asked him what was going on. He simply responded that he'd been waiting for her. He got out of the car, patting her head, wishing her a happy birthday while calling her a derp like he always did. She brushed his hand off, saying she's had a lot on her mind, and he could come inside for some tea. He thought about pulling the bouquet to give to her, but before he could, he suddenly got an emergency call to return to the hospital. Mizu was thankful he'd come to see her. She knows things have changed a lot since they've grown. Driving back, seeing his flowers still in his back seat though, he lamented, feeling he hadn't really changed at all, since he'd been chasing after her forever. Witnessing the fireworks, Mizu ran out from the school roof. Shugo and Aru were glad, albeit believing her to be such a handful. She was out of breath, putting the swim team's break room to find Ryo. He was disappointed to find out she wasn't looking for him, but instead, Kizuki. He knew it had been a while since she confessed to him, but he thanked her. The encouragement she offered him at that time served him well. After saying his goodbye, he told her Kizuki won. Running to find Kizuki once more, she thought about how she had previously admired Ryo so much. Finding Kizuki sleeping in the pool, she jumped straight into the water, asking why he wasn't at the festival. She wanted to watch the fireworks with him. He grabbed her by the shoulders, but before he could answer, the fireworks gave a beautiful distraction. Mizu wanted him to be by her side forever. With things winding down, Kizuki teased her for jumping into the pool. He put a towel over her because she was soaking wet, and she took it to dry him off too. Sitting down face to face as she rubbed him down, he pulled her by the ribbon to ask her why she wanted to watch the fireworks with him. They both pulled in close, looking to go in for a kiss. But unfortunately, their friends interrupted the moment by calling out for him, so they had to hide nearby. Kizuki wanted Mizu to keep quiet. The friends had given up on looking. However, Shin spotted the pair of shoes left behind by Mizu and Kizuki. On another day, the friends were doing a little photo shoot for Airu's social media account. He was getting tons of likes. He snapped a photo of Mizu, laughing at her tired look of defeat. She got mad, wondering why they were doing shoots in her room. She was busy. There were only 20 days left until the newcomers' manga competition would commence. With Kizuki reading aloud, "You actually wanted to kiss me, didn't you?" From her rough draft, Mizu got flashbacks to them nearly kissing. She was embarrassed, shouting at him to give her draft back, while Shin was wary of their flirting. She tried her best to continue focusing on her work, but again, her friends just kept teasing her. That evening, Shugo entered her room, bringing the eraser and pen nibs she requested while mocking her. She was thankful but also wanted his help erasing the pencil marks. He then suddenly got a text that had him shaking. His brother was coming home from college for the summer. Shugo felt like his life was over, knowing his older brother was coming back. He made Togo's room into his personal storage. Seeing some dirty mags while cleaning up made Kizuki red, and Shugo assured the friends they were his brothers, not his. At the mall, girls were gawking over Airu, seeing as he was always all over their timelines. He was helping Mizu out with her outfit, was still in a panic with 17 days left until the competition. Coming out changed, Airu was speechless. She was super cute. Back cleaning up Togo's room, Shugo was recounting all the girls he had kissed throughout the school years. Shin didn't care much for that, considering he'd only kissed the person he loved, while Kizuki nodded in agreement. To this, Shugo told the two they wouldn't understand, since they were always the girl's first pick. He thought the real fun in romance was being the third choice, and that the true essence of love was unrequited love. He personally likes the girl who adores or falls for another boy, making him the one she doesn't fall for while remaining a good friend. The third choice. When things go terribly with the girl's first pick, who does she go to? Him, of course. That's when the girl realizes for the first time the great parts about him, and his love for her. He wanted to date all sorts of girls as much as he could until the day he died. However, Shin told her to just get back to cleaning. While Mizu was purchasing her new clothing, Airu overheard some of the girls from earlier calling Mizu full of herself for hanging out with him. He didn't take that kindly, standing in front to tell them Mizu was cute and his secret girlfriend. They were starstruck, hardly believing he would speak to them. He sighed, knowing even though he had just said that, he wasn't even a choice. With the sun setting, Mizu and Airu relaxed together. Thanks to him, she felt a lot better. It was like all the stress had been taken off for the time being. He then got up to ask who she watched the fireworks with, and hearing her answer, he then asked if she figured out her own feelings yet. She then posed a question towards him, wondering what he'd do if he had to figure out his own feelings. He responded he'd do nothing, knowing if he confessed to the person he liked, their current relationship would probably be destroyed. He'd rather just stay friends and be by her side forever. He was just happy to watch over them. Mizu took this to heart, wondering if she and Kizuki stayed friends, would he stay by her side? That night, the friends looked at their photos together, laughing and giggling, until Shugo picked up a particular photo. He went downstairs to get drinks. Staring at the photo of him and Mizu, he uttered, he'd rather just be friends for now. 2030. Mizu stares at the half moon, wondering if Kizuki still didn't regret what happened. At Airu's place, he was struggling to cut her hair, accidentally snipping too much. With his mom asking if Mizu wanted steak or eel for dinner, Mizu exclaimed she wanted both, when just yesterday, she said Shugo's dad made the best pizza. She was getting all the guys' parents cooking for her. Well, just until her father was back from his business trip. Returning home, Kizuki came running up to her after swim practice. Learning tomorrow she'd be at Shin's place, he wondered why she wouldn't come to his. In her mind, Airu's words about being friends to stay by one's side forever rang through, as she told Kizuki there was no particular reason. And luckily, Shin and his dog came to save her, and we learned she was going to be at his place at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Chika would later call her a derp for choosing to have dinner with all the boys except Kizuki. This was clearly making it seem like she was fixating on him. Chika pointed out that Kizuki could get snatched up by another girl, and asked if Mizu was really sure she wanted to just be friends. With much hesitation, Mizu responded she was okay being friends. She felt it was for the best. Spacing out at Shin's place during dinner, his mother asked her if something was wrong. However, Mizu just scarfed the food down and asked for seconds. The mother offered for Mizu to bathe here, making Shin subtly blush. Then, his little brother told her to stay with them forever and marry him. However, she was going to leave after finishing her homework. Their dog knocked water over Mizu's shirt, and while Shin wiped it off, he remarked how troublesome it was that she gave his dog Shinshin such a confusing name. But she didn't mind it. She thought Shinshin was a fitting name to be Shin's dog. Later, going upstairs, he found Mizu in his room wearing his hoodie. He scolded her for taking his things without her permission, but zipping it up and putting his hood over her while telling her she wasn't cute? I don't really think he minded at all. He was flush, heading out to the convenience store to cool off. Outside, he was caught by Kizuki, who was going for an evening jog. Kizuki asked if Mizu had gone home, and that's when Shin suddenly stopped to tell him she said she'd stay the night at his place. Dang, Shin is playing dirty here. During their middle school opening ceremony, he remembered Mizu following behind him, and while she exclaimed excitement for being in the same class as him, he was cold, telling her that was the worst. Kizuki wished he had gotten into the same class as Mizu though, and knowing his class was on the other side of the hall, she took Kizuki back while all Shin could do was watch, staring out at the water over a long silence. Shin uttered to himself he hadn't grown at all. Coming back to his room, he found Mizu asleep doing her summer homework. Going to put one of his blankets on her, she uttered, "Shin, we'll always be friends, right?" During her sleep, it struck him. It hurt him. The next morning, she woke up on his shoulders to the sound of the cicadas, surprised to find out she fell asleep here. He then got up, suddenly telling her that starting tomorrow, they weren't friends anymore because she slept with him. He asked her if they could really continue being friends like this. Getting close, he asked what she thought of him, and pulling close as he was about to admit his feelings, she kowtowed while apologizing. She thought he was mad about her interfering with his studies by always asking for help. He just laughed, knowing she misunderstood his intention. He couldn't dislike her, even if he wanted to. He then got up for a shower, offering her breakfast before her leave. Mizu and her father later visited her mother's grave. She came back to the boys all wearing yukatas, given to them from Shin's mom. They all took a walk together to see the shining water, but Shin stopped to see Mizu helping Kizuki's slovenly tied waist. That's when Kizuki admitted he'd always leave his stuff unorderly, so that Mizu would come to him. He wanted her to only look at him. Then, all three of them were now watching Mizu and Kizuki's romantic moment. He told her he figured out why she came to see him on the night of the fireworks festival, and why she wouldn't come to his place. It's because she's fallen for him. This got her blushing. But of course, the boys cut their moment short to spend time together as friends. They all played comedic relief, each admitting one secret they had that was goofy. While Mizu told them the yukata she was wearing was her mother's. Visiting her mother's grave, she told her mother about each of the boys. Shin was always so cold and nagging her to study all the time. Airu got on her case about the clothes she wore without a second thought. Shugo just laughed and butted in when she was seriously worried about things. Kizuki went at his own pace so much, it gave her trouble. But every day, Mizu had fun, and she wasn't lonely at all. She thanked each of the boys for always being with her. The boys each said their piece for Mizu, except for Kizuki. He told them he was secretly in love with someone right now. But before he could admit who he was in love with, Mizu cut in, calling for ice cream. So she ran off to get some. Shugo then splashed Kizuki after, telling him not to get too serious. They started playing around, and that's when Airu admitted back in middle school he told Mizu he liked her. They were shocked. While Mizu went to get snacks, she could only think of Kizuki's words. The store clerk called for payment, and now Mizu realized she left her wallet back at the waterside. Luckily, Togo was right behind her, taking the bill in her place. Outside, he told her she'd grown into quite a cutie. 2030. Mizu met up with Mr. Yamamoto, her old editor. Even though they work for the same company, they hardly meet, being in different departments. He wanted to hear her out, seeing as she was frowning. She informed him about the young manga artist under her whose latest work had been cancelled. He consoled her, reminding her that things would be fine, since Mizu herself was also bold and decisive, even when she was young. Hearing this, Mizu decided she wouldn't give up. She would keep encouraging the young artist, because as long as they didn't give up, they still had a chance. They both reminisced on the dazzlingness of youth, and Mizu admitted she realized now how sparkling hers was. Airu splashed his boys with water, instead of telling them what Mizu said when he admitted he liked her. He said that was all in the past. Togo teased Mizu for hanging out with the boys, calling her childish. He almost didn't recognize her, adding that she's gotten so cute. He asked her if she had a crush, and she could only think of Kizuki. He then reminded her she used to follow him around, saying that she liked him. She got really flustered from that, and he went up to her asking why the look on her face. As the first man she ever liked, he wanted to know. Shugo then ruined the moment by pulling Mizu away, exclaiming that Togo was just Mizu's first crush, nothing more. Togo basically told his younger brother to chill. The group made their walk back together, and seeing Togo trying to make another move, Shugo interrupted again, calling him a pervert. Shugo had flashbacks to all of them playing together as kids, where at that time, Mizu took his glasses and told jokes. He suddenly told her to marry him, and she told him, "No way!" So he asked who she would marry, and she pointed to Togo, but Togo just responded that he wasn't into kids, and he'd think about it once she grew up. During lunch break, Shugo listened to his teacher play piano, and when she finished, he told her he saw her at the station during summer vacation with a guy, and asked if that was her boyfriend. She refused to answer though, instead telling him there were far simpler explanations for things in life than he expected, and just flat out said she was both an adult and teacher with no interest in him whatsoever. He wasn't going to give up though, having gotten used to unrequited love. In class, Mizu was exhausted at her desk. Shin and Kizuki figured out it was because of her stress trying to finish her manga before the competition. The teacher then entered with a surprise guest, Togo, who was going to be an intern joining the class today. No one was expecting that. He was in charge of PE. And man, he garnered all the ladies' attention with his incredible moves. He really dusted all of the boys. Having not slept for 3 days, Mizu got struck in the face with a ball, and Togo came to her side to check up on her. Later, Shugo and Airu helped her get to the post office. She finished her manuscript in the nick of time. We then find Togo teasing Shin in the faculty room. Shin was here to turn in the student council proposal. One of the faculty then told Shin he needed to transfer the festival expense to next term because there wasn't going to be a school festival this year. Mizu crashed onto her bed. She dreamt of the times where she would draw after her mother passed. The boys still played with her. She was joyful with tears that they'd come over when she was lonely. Kizuki sprinted up to ask and make sure she got her manuscript done in time, and the other boys stopped him because she was finally resting peacefully. They watched over as she slept, and next morning, her father found all of them resting together, but left them donuts, thanking the boys for always being there for her. On another day, the boys take a trip to the beach. Mizu wasn't there, however, still resting and all. While Togo stretched, he exclaimed he wished she were here to watch him surf, and asked if one of them was dating her. The boys went silent, and Togo went on, telling them they could all go ahead and play at being best friends forever. But while they were doing that, someone else might scoop her up. Someone like himself. Present day. Mizu returned home, hanging up the phone after a call with her father, letting him know she'd be returning next week as well when he'd actually be home. She opened her cabinet, finding a box containing important things, and inside were her old panel works and birthday photos with the boys. She uttered, "Didn't you say you would be my first and last boyfriend?" While looking at Kizuki, she wondered why he wasn't here with her now. She complained at the boys for going to the beach without her, but of course, that was her fault for sleeping like a log. Togo offered to take her to some place tomorrow. to celebrate having finished her manuscript. Oh man, did this mean they were going on a date? Kizuki tried to join them, but he had club activities. Shin couldn't because he had a student council meeting. Airu had a photo shoot with the editorial department that day, and Shugo just didn't care. Mizu was excited to get into Togo's car, but she wasn't expected to be tossed in and accompanied by Shugo. Togo teased a bit, remarking he thought he was going to have Mizu all to himself today. But Shugo replied that his boys told him to tag along. They went on various sightseeing adventures, and even with Togo trying to put the moves on Mizu, Shugo would interrupt. He couldn't even wipe her messy face. Visiting the aquarium, Mizu was a little annoyed seeing all the female attention the two brothers were getting. With Shin finishing up the club meeting, the students were disgruntled about the cancelled school festival due to the pandemic. He felt regret, since it was up to him to convince the teachers to keep the festival, but he failed. Airu was having a great time at his photo shoot until he spotted Toya. Toya saved him back in the day when the police were chasing and warned him to go back to his childhood friends. The criminal life wasn't for him. Airu never thought he'd see his old friend in a place like this. Back on the date, Togo asked if his brother was disappointed, since the rest of the friends asked him to watch Mizu to make sure he wouldn't make a move on her. That must mean they didn't even see Shugo as a rival. Shugo accepted this, giving the same old, "Mizu is just my friend." She came back with desserts, almost getting hit by a bike. But Shugo saved her. He saw her laces untied, and reflected on her brother's words. On the car ride back, seeing the keychain Mizu bought at the aquarium fall out of her bag, Shugo told her to give it to Kizuki. She wondered how he knew she wished Kizuki was here, but it was like he said before, he could see right through her. She suddenly grabbed his glasses, telling him she couldn't see, and it wasn't just the glasses. Shugo always noticed things she never saw about herself. It made her happy, it made him blush. He suddenly told his brother to stop the car and took the front seat. Togo seemed to notice what was going on. Seeing the brothers argue at school, Shiraishi-sensei commented on their sibling behavior. Shugo tried to say he and his brother were nothing alike. So, Shiraishi-sensei plainly told Togo that Shugo was using her as a cover-up because he really liked someone else. He was afraid, so he buried how he really felt. But she knew that if he left things how they were now, he'd definitely regret it once he was an adult. He continued to think about that on his way home. Eventually, meeting up with Mizu at the train station. Turns out, she didn't give that keychain to Kizuki because she wasn't brave enough. So, Shugo suggested she give it to him instead. But, by the time the train arrived, she answered she couldn't. So he told her not to regret it later. She gained courage, and decided to head back to school to give it to Kizuki, and she presented it behind a towel, letting Kizuki know it was a present from when she went on a day trip with Togo and Shugo. And when she tried to hand it, he suddenly grabbed her, holding her, while Shugo could only watch. He wouldn't regret it, because he was used to unrequited love. What Kizuki was most afraid of was Mizu being taken by another man. This is where he declared he'd be her first and last boyfriend. He stared at her for a long time, never looking away. Meeting at Shugo's place, it seems she was late for dinner. Eating the incredible display of food on the table, Mizu complimented Shugo's meal as the head chef of his own restaurant. She never would have guessed he'd quit university to become a chef. She then showed the happy birthday message she got from Airu, and learned he was in London at the moment. Everyone was putting everything they had into forging their own paths. She wondered when they'd meet up next. Every so often, she remembered the days when they refused to back down from a challenge, and kept moving forward. The student council was in charge of leading the students to clean up everything since the school festival was cancelled. Shin came up to Mizu, taking one of the cards she had made for the manga club, and was surprised he wanted it, since he had made fun of her nerdy interests in magic girls. He didn't quite understand, but took it because it was cute. As she was boxing things up, he suddenly moved her hair aside. They had a silent moment as the breeze blew by, and he just turned away, saying it looked like she had tape stuck in her hair. She then smiled, telling him they should always remember that on September 18th, 5:20 p.m., the two of them were in a classroom at Owl High, and that she wanted him to keep that art card as a souvenir for today. She was just so happy to make a memory just now. She wanted to make more. She wanted memories of being at Owl High after class, preparing and practicing. She wanted memories to show they had all been here together once. In the faculty room, Togo expressed his wish for the students to still have a school festival with Principal Okuno. After all, she was the one who taught him school wasn't just a place for study. It was also a place to make memories, and that a year for a student meant a lot more to them than it did for adults. She took his words in, calling him as cheeky as ever. With her stepping into the halls, Shin suddenly asked her to reconsider having the school festival. He spoke from his heart, about letting them make memories, because if not, the only thing they'd remember was their studies. Mizu put her input in as well. She wanted them to all have fun and to show off her artwork. Chika's favorite pop star canceled all his concerts, so she at least wanted this. The third years wanted their last festival as well. The principal allowed it, but shortened the festival from 2 days to just 1, and only students would be allowed to participate. The students won. They were going to have the festival, thanks to Shin. While prepping things, Shin's student council vice president, Akiyama, suddenly tells him she's always liked him, and asked if he was interested in anyone. If not, she wanted him to go out with her. She then got called by another council member, and told him he could give his answer to her later. Outside, during the festival, they were having a crepe making contest, and the girls were screaming over Kizuki and his bunny ears. This guy literally had a whole fan club. He wanted to bring his to Mizu, but seeing her with Airu and Shugo, he stopped. Shin stopped by Kizuki, and that's when Kizuki uttered, "Mizuho isn't looking at me." He'd been trying so hard all this time, but he felt she still saw him as the youngest one, and just a childhood friend. He wondered if nothing's changed about himself since entering high school. When they had first put their uniforms on, he told Shin he had no idea what to do, because he really liked her. He at that point saw her more and more as a woman, not just as a childhood friend. He wanted her to see him as a man one day. Shin then patted his head, and told him if he really liked her, he should do his best. Taking a group photo together, Kizuki suddenly held Mizu's hand, letting her know this was revenge for not looking at him. And then, they got their photo taken. In the evening, candles shone in the darkness of the campus. This was to replace the usual bonfire. Before Shin could approach Mizu, Kizuki got to her first, asking her to light his candle. They sat together, and Kizuki asked if she was going to return his feelings or not. It hurt him a little when he thought of her, but he was okay if it was unrequited for now. Akiyama then approached Shin, and he apologized, rejecting her, admitting he's been in love with someone else for a long time now. She was surprised to see the look on his face, but quickly gave up. After all, she knew unrequited love would never bring happiness. Behind Shin, Airu snapped a photo. He called it such a shame, since Akiyama was known as Aohai's goddess, and joked it'd probably be boring to date a gloomy student council president who had a permanent frown on his face. Framing Mizu and Kizuki with his fingers, Airu thought Akiyama was totally right about unrequited love. It was all pain and suffering with no end in sight. Shin remembered seeing Kizuki asking Mizu out as he helped her bring up her cake. Shin covered his ears then, and wondered why he was surprised, since he was the one who told Kizuki to do his best. He didn't want to keep things the way they were. Reading the new series proposal for a series containing love and youth, the young mangaka under Mizu felt like she couldn't draw these themes so easily. She wondered if Mizu had ever experienced youth. She knew when she was in elementary that Mizu was in high school at the time of the epidemic. Everything had been cancelled, and so Mizu must have been from a generation that had nothing. However, Mizu responded that despite that, her youth in 2020 was just as good as anyone else's. Even though many have called their generation pitiful, she believed they moved forward bravely and got through hard times, and pointed out that even though this girl hadn't realized it, she had experienced youth herself. After the meeting, Mizu lied back, disappointed in not being able to convince the girl. Remembering Kizuki had called her a genius back in the day, she teared up, wishing he'd come to wipe her tears. Shugo's and Togo's dad put a cooler in the trunk full of ingredients. They were having a camping trip this time around, with Shin looking for a seat. Kizuki sniped a spot right next to Mizu. Airu teased Shin, letting him know he needed to pick up the pace and try harder. Seeing the multiple log cabins, Togo was excited to get a room to himself. However, Shugo and Shin weren't going to let that happen, so they dragged him off. While everyone was getting things ready at camp, Mizu and Kizuki were doing their own thing. But Mizu could tell Shin seemed a little down, and wanted him to join them. Kizuki got frustrated, hearing she wasn't paying attention to him, and decided to splash her. And now, she was totally soaked in a white shirt. Some other campers came by to fish, so to cover her up, Kizuki put his shirt around her and held her close. Seeing them come back, Airu pointed out to Shin that Mizu was wearing Kizuki's shirt. He asked why Shin deliberately assigned the two to try to fish together, when he could have assigned Mizu with himself. When Mizu came up to them, Airu reminded her to get the blankets, and Shin followed to help. As Mizu was getting them, a small basket was about to fall over her head, so Shin pushed her out of the way. Now that they were face to face, Mizu checked to see if he was alright. But before he could make a move, a local checked in on them and ruined the moment. The group had their meal that night, and Mizu complimented Shugo's cooking, saying he could take over his dad's restaurant. He had no interest though. Instead, wanting to go to a university, get a job, and live his life in whatever way seemed fun. It's not like he had something he was dying to do, like she or Kizuki did. Chika agreed. She also didn't have any special talents. She didn't have a great sense of fashion like Airu. She didn't know what she was interested in either, and couldn't see herself doing anything in the future. She wished Togo would stop smiling while listening to her problems though, and asked why he wanted to become a teacher. His answer? He wanted to make waves in the educational industry for the future of the youths. Everyone was stunned. Shugo called that a lie, saying he probably did it for a long summer vacation. Togo then passed the question to Shin. He had been studying hard for his dream. Shin remembered telling Mizu's father he wanted to propose to her after he became a doctor. Mizu asked what Shin wanted to do, and with Shugo about to answer, Shin tackled him, giving everyone a laugh. During shower time, Kizuki thought about Mizu and Shin. He then asked Shin if he was into Mizu, but Shin didn't quite hear him. So, Kizuki then made an excuse saying he was asking for some shampoo. Outside, they came across Chika, who explained she was looking for Mizu. Mizu left after saying she had lost her phone and had gone to find it. She's been gone for over 30 minutes now. Shin went to look for her first, giving his stuff to Kizuki to put back in his room before looking together. It was there. Mizu's art card slipped out from Shin's stuff with the writing, 5:20 p.m. on September 18th, 2020. I am together with Mizuho. He remembered all the times they were growing up. When he wanted to play with Mizu, Shin would find some excuse to walk away. He wondered why Shin told him to do his best when he felt the same way as he did about her. With it raining, Shin found Mizu having taken cover, and with him calling, she instantly found her phone. The rain got heavier, so they couldn't leave yet. He tossed his cardigan over her, but she kept trying to give it back. So now, they were both under it. He asked if she knew what she wanted to do when she was older, and her answer? For all of them to have fun hanging out together forever. She hoped even when they were all grown up, they would never change. He asked if that was really true, considering Kizuki. They were all going to graduate, walk their own paths, and become adults. He was certain them being friends forever wouldn't be happening. Returning back to her room, Mizu suddenly gets a call from Kizuki, and he tells her he wants to see her right now. She hears a knock at her door, not expecting he'd be here so soon. And it was Shin, who told Kizuki sorry over her phone before going in for a kiss. Mizu was sad she wasn't able to convince the young mangaka to continue. Remembering Kizuki's affirming words, she wished he was here to wipe her tears. She suddenly got a phone call from an unknown caller, and it was Airu, who was on layover at the Hong Kong airport. He wanted to know if she was free because he'd be back in Japan tonight. Mizu's eyes were wide while Shin's lips pressed against hers. They parted, and looking at the phone, he said, September 26th, 10:53 p.m. You and I were together. Remember this always. Blushing, she asked him what he was doing, but he only responded that he just wanted to make memories with her, and that he wasn't going to apologize. She then took her phone back and ran inside. As Shin began walking back, he came face to face with Kizuki, and told Kizuki he wasn't going to lose to him or cheer him on anymore. On another school day, the boys came to pick Mizu up, but she had already left for school. Because of Shin, she hadn't been able to sleep well since that night. She was losing her mind because she couldn't understand his mind. For now, she didn't want to see either of the two boys. The boys watched as Togo received his goodbye gifts from the students. They had received money from Mizu's father to go shopping for Togo's gift tomorrow, and the only one who was free to go was Shin. So, he was advancing at the moment. Kizuki fell over, knowing he couldn't skip swim practice to go. Coming out from his surf, Togo spotted Mizu with a saddened look on her face. She was just staring at a text from Shin that read, "Don't start hiding from me early in the morning." Togo caught her by surprise, asking what was wrong. Then, he invited her to hang out. While hanging, she got more texts from Shin telling her to keep her schedule free after school tomorrow. Togo started mocking Mizu's thoughts with phrases like, "I don't understand stuff like love or crushes. I'd rather be friends." And, "Romance isn't for me." She was gasping, hearing he read her like an open book. He told her he was once like her too. Back in high school, he fell in love with a girl his best friend had one-sided feelings for. He made all kinds of excuses to himself, and in the end, he graduated without ever confessing to her. He dated some other girls to get her off his mind, but that didn't work. He never told the girl he loved how he felt, and even now he still regretted it. His advice to her was to listen to her heart. Then, after making a cool shot in the hoop, He told her if things didn't work out, she could always come back to her first crush. She told him to keep dreaming. Filled with determination, Mizu was going to follow his advice and face her feelings. Kizuki got up quickly, hearing Shugo say Mizu and Shin were here together. Shugo was just teasing Kizuki, knowing he wasn't focused on practice at all. Shugo then scared Kizuki with the idea of Shin getting serious and wooing Mizu while they were buying Togo's gift. Kizuki was totally running out of health here. Because the elevator at the mall was packed, Shin held Mizu close. But this made things a little steamy for her, because she couldn't stop thinking about their kiss together. She kept telling herself she was here to focus on getting a gift for Togo. At a store, the girls were in awe over Shin's handsome looks. Mizu knew he'd always been aloof. He always turned girls down using his studies as an excuse. He never even accepted Valentine's Day chocolates from girls. His friends shivered over just how cold he was. She wondered why he was interested in romance now, since he'd never been before. He caught her off guard, holding her in close, saying the tie she was holding looked pretty nice. She was losing her mind over all the tactics he was using. The two continued to hang out together, and he suddenly looked like he was going in for another kiss, only to take a bite out of her snack. Some girls watching were gushing, thinking how lucky his girlfriend was. Seeing a couple doing a photo shoot for their wedding, Shin began to imagine Mizu smiling in a dress and calling his name. He took Mizu to ride a cable car in the evening, and Mizu tried her best to talk to him, but he hadn't responded to her since they'd gotten on. He then suddenly told her he didn't want to go home. He didn't care about riding this cable car in particular. He just wanted to stay with her a little longer. He promised he wasn't messing with her. He'd been hyped this whole time that he had her all to himself. The cable car shook, causing her to fall into his arms, and putting his head to hers, he told her he wished this day would never end. Getting off, he looked back, confirming his heart was already set on dating her. Mizu just stared at him, realizing he wasn't aloof at all, but that instead, she didn't know anything about him. On another day, Kizuki and Shin were fighting for Mizu's affection. Kizuki wanted to have a bento with Mizu for lunch, and Shin was going to work on homework with Mizu after school, but Mizu shoved them off, not wanting to humor either of them. While Chika comforted Mizu later, she expressed her surprise. Seeing the eternally cold-hearted Shin like this, she knew love truly changed people. She told Mizu to enjoy this. Why would someone who had zero romantic experience pursue shoujo manga writing? And she definitely hit the target. But bringing that up reminded them the results of the manga competition were out. After school, the boys couldn't find Mizu at all, but Airu got a text from Chika knowing where they were. So he ran off on his own. On the way there, he remembered getting beaten up during his delinquent days. The boys he ran with had never once thought he was one of them. Mizu had later found him beaten up at their usual spot. He then grabbed her hand and told her to go out with him. He hated himself so much at this point. He didn't belong anywhere, but felt he could change if he went out with her. But she refused. She didn't believe he loved her romantically. Even not being his girlfriend, she promised to be by his side. She told him he belonged here. He eventually found her at the usual spot in the park. He consoled her for her test results in the manga competition. She felt bad, not having debuted even though she'd been applying since elementary school. She wondered if she really had any talent for this at all. She thought about no longer chasing her dreams, and instead, focusing on studying for college entrance exams. Airu held her in response, telling her to say no more. He told her back in middle school, her words saved him. In the future, whether she became a manga artist, an office worker, or a model, he'd always be there for her, joking that maybe being a model would be impossible for her. Making it back, they spotted Kizuki waiting for her. Airu took his leave, knowing this was where he belonged. These friends were irreplaceable to him. Kizuki presented the sketches Mizu had drawn for him in elementary school. It was his treasure. He liked the Mizu who worked hard and chased after her dreams. He hoped she wouldn't quit making manga. She cried, falling to her knees, because when he said things like that, it made it even harder for her to give up. He told her to keep going, and if things got hard and she was going to cry, he'd always be there to wipe her tears. At the airport, Mizu met with Airu. He teased her for her outdated makeup like he usually did. She didn't think he'd be back till summer, but apparently, he wanted to check out an exhibition in Hong Kong during his layover, since his school in London was still on break. The two had a meal together, and we learned he'd been going to school for makeup and fashion. He asked about how things had been going on her end, and she admitted everything was falling apart at the moment. He then comforted her, letting her know her work ethic gave him the courage to work as hard as he could. Mizu then got a call from the young mangaka she'd been working with. The girl confessed that in her first year of high school, she competed against a guy for the highest test scores. Thinking she might have liked him, she's considering writing a new series inspired by that, and had just emailed Mizu a draft for that story. Mizu quickly opened it and exclaimed the opening scene was great and the boy was so cool. She wanted more from this young artist, and hearing now that the mangaka was going to write using the themes of love and adolescence, Mizu was blown away in tears. Mizu was different from how she was back then, but the fun memories, the bitter experiences, they all connected to who she was today. Elsewhere, in the same airport, Kizuki's associate gave back the keychain he dropped. The man then asked Kizuki to eat dinner with him, unless he promised to meet with his girlfriend. However, Kizuki just replied, "I didn't promise anything." Oh man, this is where season 1 ends? So Kizuki is cold with Mizu, but I think it's kind of clear she still really likes him. And all the guys still like her. Luckily, if you're a fan of the series, it is in fact getting a season 2, so we will just have to wait when that comes out and I'll cover it then. Subscribe to the channel for more, but for now, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.